So I recently stumbled across this video of a content creator comparing the BMW X3 to the NIO ES6, and on all metrics it was pretty much NIO ahead. NIO was ahead in terms of acceleration, in terms of the quality of materials. The BMW X3 had an acceleration of 6.8 seconds. NIO had acceleration of 4.2 seconds. And then in terms of the material as well, and if you look at the axles and all that kind of stuff, NIO had better materials in those axles. It was pretty much steel for the BMW and full aluminum for NIOs. In terms of all metrics, NIO was ahead. But then you look at the comments, some of these people saying that they would close their eyes and still pick BMW all day, every day. And of course, BBA is the biggest competitor for NIO. A lot of NIO owners, they used to own a BBA before buying a NIO. And we've seen that briefly in July, NIO had overtaken BBA's main gasoline vehicles. All right, back in July, NIO was number one. But then for August, what happened? We had a little factory mishap for the second week. Deliveries kind of fell. So Mercedes GLC delivered 12,509. The Audi Q5L delivered 11,804. X3 delivered 9,816. And NIO 8,601. Now, of course, this isn't a fair apple-to-apples comparison because those are gasoline cars, all right? So it was a big achievement in July that they overtook those gasoline cars, luxury EV. But then here, even right now, that is still very impressive at fourth place because we're comparing the three spots in front of them are all gasoline vehicles. If you compare it to their electric counterparts, not even on this list, man. They are down in like the 2000s. But it brings about a very interesting fact, and that is the fact that a lot of people here in China also still have the stigma that Chinese products are bad quality. You guys thought only you Westerners had that stigma, that stereotype? No, also in China. I've said this before, but my wife's father, my father-in-law, thought I was absolutely dumb for buying a Chinese domestic EV and that I should have gone for Tesla. Of course, it shows the misunderstanding around this whole situation and that people don't really understand the product that much. So in that aspect, there's still massive potential for NIO to grow. The problem right now is the stereotype. And you see, especially for a lot of the earlier NIO owners, to choosing NIO over a Tesla or something else, a Chinese brand that was fairly new back then, it took a massive leap of faith, especially some of the founder NIO owners, those Founders Edition ES8. Those guys, they had to take a big leap of faith. And we got to see that back then, it was pretty much a perfect storm for NIO to start operations back then, because first of all, you had very high EV subsidies, and second of all, you had basically no competition in the luxury EV market. It was basically ES8 or a Tesla Model X. And Tesla Model X back then, you had to pay 50% of the price was in taxes, because you had to import the car from the US here, and the import tariffs were just absolutely crazy. And a lot of people were like, F that, I'm not paying 50% taxes. Let's try this new brand, ES8, NIO out. So they took that massive leap of faith. But now what you've also seen is that as the market in itself entirely has progressed to a point where the competitors have also caught on, and then subsidies has also gone away, it's pretty much a fight for who has the best product. And also the stereotype thing, getting past the stereotype. And of course, there still exists that stigma that EVs are not as good as gasoline cars in general. Even at the beginning, when I first bought my NIO, my wife was really against it. It was like, oh, why did you buy this car? Why couldn't you just buy a BBA? All that kind of stuff. But of course, after, as time progressed and slowly seeing how good NIO was in general, and also new houses, etc., she started to appreciate the brand more and more. And then she also told me, before, her attitude was like, what the hell is this trash car, etc., etc. But now she sees a pink ET5 and she's like, when are you going to buy me one of those? I showed her pictures of the new purple EC6 and she's like, I want that. Give me one. So what this all means for you guys is that there is still massive, massive growth potential, man. Because most of these guys with those stereotypes have not test driven the car. They do not understand the ecosystem that NIO has to offer. And the fact of the matter is, right now, a lot of people that have the permission to buy gasoline vehicles would never consider an EV right now. Most people, all right? And if you have the permission to buy EVs, well, you can't buy a gasoline vehicle anyways. But it is slowly starting to shift. And right now, the government has made regulations changes so that even if you have the permission to buy gasoline vehicles, you can still buy EV. Of course, they want you to do that. And you can still buy a gasoline vehicle in the future if you want to sell your EV. So that used to be the reason why people weren't buying EVs in the past. I mean, firmly from the stats itself, ES6 is like so much better than all the BBA counterparts. But are people test driving those cars? Did everybody that bought one of those Mercedes GLCs or Q5Ls or X3 test drive a ES6? As this rise of patriotism heats up even more here in China, and as more and more locations ban Teslas, and as awful as that sounds, this is all very good for NIO. And as long as people are willing to test drive the car and understand and learn about the ecosystem, they will be blown away. And a lot of NIO owners even said this, like after driving a NIO for so long, you cannot drive a gasoline vehicle anymore because the throttle response is delayed, and then the entire driving dynamics is different, the suspension is different. So of course NIO wants everybody to test drive their cars. Just imagine if those guys just at least test drove the car. They would realize that the magnitude of difference and how good of a quality NIO is, instead of just blindly thinking that it's bad quality. And of course, NIO wants you to test drive the car. NIO's coming out with a lot of incentives like loot boxes and that kind of stuff, raffles for you to test drive the car. You test drive the car, you get a little gift, possibly a little gift, and it's working pretty well. But we still got a long way to go. There is still room for a lot of growth. And as the sales force expands and there's more test drives, more customers, things are just going to get better and better for the company in general. Until, of course, a competitor comes out with a better product or a more hot product. But so far, that hasn't really happened yet. Which one of these cars would you choose? I would blindly choose the ES6 all day, every day. All right, as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.